All right. So I'm sitting here in Pennsylvania, and I'm sitting here thinking to myself, I just watched a video about a guy talking about the Civil War that's to come and some of the aspects that he thought made him ready for it. And I just felt like he was very lost and very misguided. And here's why. The guy basically for the coming Civil War feels that he's like, I got my gun, I'm ready to go. I'm gonna do what anybody else does. I'm gonna go out and I'm just gonna go, off into the woods and hunt, and anyone comes to my property in town, I'm just gonna, I'll just shoot them. you know, uh, Basically boom boom pow pow, like somehow that's gonna solve his problems. It's like, dude, you're like missing a whole aspect. Just common sense alone dictates. If you live in society as it sits right now as it sits, there are three essential things that you need and that you have. There's food, water, um, there's housing, or shelter, as people call it. You have these three essential things right now. Now, what does it take for you to get those things? I can tell you right now, boom, boom, pow, pow doesn't just make food all of a sudden fall from the sky. Nor does it get you water in your cup. Oh, magically water's going to appear in my cup because I went boom, boom, pow, pow. It's like, dude, that doesn't solve any of your problems. Unless you live next to water, you ain't got water. Unless you have a way of producing it, you don't. Unless you make and produce your own food, which the average citizen in America doesn't do today, you don't have food. Unless you got a stockpile of food, which the average American lives on about 72 hours worth of food in their house. Most people don't even have a week's worth of food in their home. You ain't got food. Those are the things that you need to survive. Now think about this. I assume this person would probably say, I'll just go take that food. I'll go take it. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go take that food from somebody else. I know exactly what I'm doing. I'm a taker of food. I'm going to go to this person's house. I'll get what I need one way or another. Boom, boom, pow, pow. Like, dude, even that is misguided. Like, that's totally lost. Think about this. You've got neighbors, okay? You've got people who know you on a regular basis. You go to one neighbor and you rob them, the rest of your neighbors are going to hear about it. Next thing you know, you're ostracized. You can't get the assistance that you might need. No one's going to help you now because you're a boom, boom, pow, pow kind of guy. Now, that's not me saying guns are bad. I think guns are really important. As a matter of fact, I think every citizen should own one and have been taught how to use one. I think the Second Amendment is really important. Like, for example, our government will subsidize things like abortions. Okay, they say it doesn't subsidize abortions, it just subsidizes the clinics. Yeah, you're full of shit, dude. We all know what it does. Okay, the reality of it is that these things are subsidized by the government. They just are. Okay? I think they should subsidize the Second Amendment. You don't see them doing that for any other right, do you? Okay, you don't see them do that. But they call abortion a right. It's a right. It's a woman's right to choose. You're right, it is a woman's right to choose, but you have to pay for it, right? Well, it is an American right, a constitutional right, to own a gun. Why don't they subsidize guns? They don't do that. Every citizen should own a pistol, at the very least, right? Be trained on how to use a gun at the very least. Why don't we subsidize a right like that? We don't. Why? We all know why, because they don't really believe in our rights. But that's beside the point. The point that I'm making here is that this person's lost and misguided. If you think you're going to go off into the woods and you're just going to hunt, I'll just go off into the woods. I'll survive on the land. Boy, you're going to be fucking struggling. You're going to be roughing it so hard. And I'm sure you in some way know that it's going to be rough. But you and like, I don't know, 100 million other Americans have that exact same idea. You know how much game is in the woods? Like white-tailed deer, elk. You know how much is out there? Not enough. Nowhere near enough. Believe it or not, you'd have a better chance going and hunting the animals that are already domesticated. There's like I think I forget what it is, 100 million cows, 2 billion chickens in the United States that are domesticated animals on the farms. Your chances of getting one of those would be much better than going off and hunting in the woods. As a matter of fact, they'd be much easier prey. Like, you are a person who doesn't think at all. Legitimately, doesn't think. You haven't considered it at all. If you really believe there's going to be a civil war in this country, you should be preparing. You should start collecting food. Start conserving food. Start setting aside water. Start coming up with a plan. Start talking to other people who agree with you. But don't just think you're going to go out and go boom, boom, pow, pow. That is not how life works. That is not. As a matter of fact, boom, boom, pow, pow is pretty hard. And if a civil war does come, that's not something to be celebrated. A civil war is something that will be fought amongst our family, our friends, our homes, our neighborhoods, our communities. They'll be devastated. Devastated. That's not something to celebrate. You just think you got this notion because of Hollywood and how a civil war is going to start. It's just going to be boom, boom, pow, pow. Just do what I want, get what I want. Yeah, just, all right, yeah, whoa, yeah. And this person wasn't Southern, by the way, but this is just the first thing that comes to my mind. It's just some, I don't know. My point is, and I'm not calling Southern people retarded. I think I've met a lot of very highly educated Southern people. I just think that this guy personally just seems so lost. And his mind is just, he's got like freaking tunnel vision. He's looking through a tunnel, He doesn't visualize things for the way that they are. And he doesn't recognize the ramifications of his own actions. And that kind of short-sightedness is why we live in the society we live in today that is on the verge of fracturing and crumbling. That's why. That's why we have these divisions. It's because people are so short-sighted. And they're not educated enough to be able to make decisions for the whole group, but yet they think that their actions represent the majority. And they just don't. That lack of integrity, that lack of fortitude in one's own visions and actions, the lack of refining their ideas, Anyway, I think preparedness is important. Nobody should ever underrate preparedness or consider it a psychological defect in any way to think that you should prepare for things to come. Whether they come in the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years, it doesn't matter. The idea of preparing is a good idea. And don't let somebody beguile you into thinking that, somehow that makes you a psychological defect in some way, or that, you're some kind of psycho. You're not. The reality of it is that preparedness is somebody recognizing the fragility of the society that we live in and the systems in place that take care of society today. Like, for example, all it would take is just one thing to go wrong, and, it's like domino effect. Everything starts falling apart. People act crazy when they're desperate. That's just the reality of it. Everybody wants to survive, but they don't have the means of survival now because they put their trust and faith into others to support them rather than them supporting themselves. And that's our society today. It's made it so we can have the greatest jump in human lives that we have now on the earth. What is it, like 7 billion? It's made it so we've had the greatest technological advancements. We have the best societal standards in the history of humanity, but the reality of it is it's very fragile, and it could fall apart at any minute, at any time, over something really that could be unforeseen. But in the society we live in today, I would say that the coming tide, the coming storm, is very apparent, and I think that might be the point that boy was trying to make. He's not a man talking like that. But that might have been the point he was trying to make. But it was very short-sighted the way that he said it. He hadn't really thought it out. Anyway, that's my ramble and my rant. I hope in some way this helps people. Don't capitulate to stupidity. Don't be subjugated by other people's ideas. Don't let people think for you. Don't go through jargon. These ideas people put out there, they're not always well thought. Think for yourself. Have a blessed day.